Hi, in this video, we will be reviewing the traditional classification of musical instruments into their respective families. You should be able to identify the 6 music families, distinguish between orchestral and non-orchestral instruments, appreciate how the production of sound helps distinguish musical instruments. Maybe you remember your first form music class. The music teacher probably told you about the different types of instruments, such as woodwind, brass, string, and percussion. How do you determine which instrument belongs to which group? Some of you might have said it depends on what they are made of. For example, a saxophone is made of brass, so therefore it must belong to the brass family, shouldn't it? This assumption, however, would be incorrect. The method used to correctly classify them is by the way the instrument produces sound. Once we know this, we can place the instrument into one of the music families. Let us start with the 4 families of the orchestra. First, we have the strings. Instruments in this group produce sound by causing strings, usually metal in nature, to vibrate by using one of 3 methods: bowing, plucking, or strumming. Some examples of string instruments include the harp, the cello, and the violin. The second instrument family is the woodwinds. These instruments produce sound by simply blowing air or wind into their instruments. Sometimes this air is used to vibrate a single reed, as is the case with the clarinet, or a double reed, which is the situation with an oboe or bassoon. The air itself may also be used to vibrate and cause sound, as the flute does. Thirdly, we have the brass family. Sound is produced by buzzing your lips into a metal mouthpiece. You may know it as making raspberries. Examples of brass instruments include the trumpet, French horn, trombone, and tuba. Finally, percussion. The percussion family all produce sound either by hitting, shaking, or scraping their instruments. Some examples of percussion instruments would include the xylophone, triangle, and snare drum. These 4 families of instruments combine to make up the classical or symphonic orchestra. But you might ask the question though, what about instruments that are not a part of the orchestra, like say a synthesizer or an electric guitar? How do we classify these instruments? Well, the truth is that there are families of instruments outside of those usually found in the orchestra, and they can be placed into 2 additional families. And these families are the keyboard family and the family of electronic instruments. Keyboard instruments produce sound in different ways, but always through a keyboard played with the hands, and the keyboard consists usually of white keys and black keys. Or you can have a situation where the keyboard itself is played with your feet. That's interesting. Some examples of keyboard instruments would include the harpsichord, the organ, and the acoustic piano. Electronic instruments have only been around since electricity has been readily available. They produce sound in an artificial way through the use of electronic amplification. So, no electricity, no sound. Sometimes we can have hybrid instruments, such as the electric guitar, which is partly a string instrument and partly an electronic instrument, in that sound is amplified via electronic means. Anything that is used to make music can be grouped into these families by asking yourself, how is the sound produced? Strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion, keyboard, and electronic families. Perhaps the next time you listen to music, see if you can correctly classify the instruments.